In this presentation, we will discuss about the instruments or tools available to understand where do we stand. Am I open to public information or am I very close or secret to public information? To do this, we have an instrument available with Article 19, one of the international NGO that talks to or that works to advance the free access to information. Article 19 is a global campaign for free expression. They have produced a set of international principles to measure, actually they are given about 9 to 10 points to understand. This can be applicable, you can apply this to any institution, be it a family or an individual or a university or a department or a government in a state level government or district level government. If you apply these principles, you will come to know that how rigid the governance is, how open it is or how secret it is. So, we will see one by one whether the international principles that has been produced by a set of principles produced by the international NGO called Article 19, and they have done it with maximum openness. Actually, they want to have the maximum openness in the governance, and with the best international standards and practices available, this particular framework has been facilitated by Article 19. The first one is maximum disclosure. How open you are to disclose about whatever information you have. So, freedom of information legislation should be guided by the principles of maximum disclosure. This not only talks about freedom of information, this talks about access to information, the oxygen of democracy. Access to official information is a basic right. If you feel that access to information, official information is a basic right, then you will open everything to the stakeholders like employees, the citizens, the students or the teachers or whoever may be, the laborers, whoever may be, that you will provide them with all kinds of information. So, the information held by public bodies should be subject to disclosure. So, whatever information you have to disclose it to the public. This is one major aspect with which you can measure that whether they are open or closed governance. The second one is obligation to publish. How obligated you are to publish the information that you have been withholding. So, public bodies should be under the obligation to publish key information, whatever that is relevant to the public, whether they ask it through RTI, whether they ask it through some kind of demand, but you should come forward to publish the information. It implies not only that public bodies accede to request to the information, but also that they publish and disseminate widely documents of significant public interest. Whatever be the public interest documents that you have been holding, reveal it to the public, reveal it through the websites, annual reports and documents, so that they can have the pleasure of taking part in the governance. And the next one is promotion of open government. Public bodies must actively promote open government. When you have a public funded institution, as I said, it can be a city governance, it can be a public university governance, or it can be a public college, or it can be a public hospital, whatever be, the government should be promoting, the governance should be promoting the open governance, informing the public of their rights and promoting a culture of openness within the government are essential. How you are promoting the culture of openness? How do you ensure that you have been promoting the culture of openness? So, the democratic governments should provide for a number of mechanisms to address the problem of culture of secrecy within the government. So, the problem of culture of secrecy should be slowly weed out. You have to completely erase the culture of secrecy in the governance. In that case, you can call yourself as the open government institution, right. We saw that public information should be open and we should have a disclosure policy and come forward to publish everything. In that, do we have any kind of exceptions? There is a standard for that evolved by Article 19, and they say that exceptions should be clearly and narrowly drawn. You can't have a arbitrary decision about drawing lines of exclusive exempted material and public material. all individual requests for information from public should be met unless the public body can show that the information falls within the scope of the limited regime of exemptions. Unless you have very clear standard or evolved standards to call the information as exempted, you can't hold that. And process to facilitate access, facilitate all forms of access to the information. Requests for information should be processed rapidly and fairly, and independent of any refusal should be available. You cannot withhold information without having any kind of restrictions. All public bodies should be required to establish open, accessible internal systems for ensuring the public's right to receive information. So, the public's right to receive information should be facilitated and put forth by the public bodies unconditionally. And if you look at the cost, individuals should not be deterred from making request for information by excessive cost. You can't deter them, you can't avoid them, or you can't prevent them from accessing your information by providing them exorbitant cost. You can provide them at a low cost or no cost, so that this can, in some jurisdiction, if you look at the entire world, in some jurisdictions a two-tier system has been used involving flat fees for each request. That is, say that about 1 or 2 rupees for the first page or second page, and along with the graduated fees depending on the actual cost of retrieving and providing the information. So, there are two levels, one is flat cost and graduated cost. You can have a flat cost for the minimum information. When you want the huge information, then you can have the gradual level of thing. So, the next argument is about open meetings. Meetings of public bodies should be open to the public. You might be knowing that our discussions, public policy making discussions, be it parliament or assembly or even at the level of Gram Sabha, that we facilitate the public access. Though we have a ritualistic pattern of Gram Sabha meetings on very specific days, say for example, October 2nd, January 26th or August 15th, we have very limited number of meetings. But this particular recommendation says that meetings of public bodies should be open to the public, and you should have as many meetings as possible, so that you can involve them, involve the public, involve the stakeholders in the decision making. Disclosure takes precedence. Laws which are inconsistent with the principles of maximum disclosure should be amended or repealed, which means that if you have some kind of law that prevents you from disclosure, then that law should be either repealed or should be amended. The culture of secrecy which envelopes as many governing bodies will be maintained. When you facilitate the maximum disclosure to the public, when you are amending the laws or completely wiping out the laws that are not acceptable, the disclosures, then the culture of, if you are not doing that, what will happen then? The culture of secrecy will emerge, right? That will make the governing bodies, which will become completely a secret governance. So, if you want to done away with the culture of secrecy, then you have to done away with the laws that prevents the disclosure. And another point is arguing by this article 19 is that protection for whistleblowers. There will always be somebody who will bringing out the public information to the public domain, so that the information that are being withheld by some agencies, by the governing bodies, that will be always some whistleblowers will be there. It is in every culture, be it in India or in UK, or we know about Snowden, and we heard about everywhere that whistleblowers are there who bring out, who are the real heroes who have been making the democracy more vibrant. They are the one that who make the world more open, right. So, individuals who release information on wrongdoing of the government or the ruling parties, then the whistleblowers must be protected. So, before we conclude, I wish to recommend two textbooks, two important texts which will be very helpful to understand these ideas in a better way. If you look at the history, only after World War II that we have been talking about the freedom of the press, and the freedom of information was coined only after World War II only. For the history of the concept, we can recommend you to read the two following books. The one is by Michael Schutzen, The Rise of Right to Know, Politics and the Culture of Transparency, published by Harvard University Press in 2016, very important milestone book that talks about the rise of right to know. And the second one is by Mark Frunster, the Transparency Fix, Secrets, Leaks and Uncontrollable Government Information, published by Stanford University Press in 2017. These two books talk about the idea of the right to know and the idea of the secrecy also. If you look at the entire travel of the secrecy versus openness, some scholars would argue that, say that information within government control is citizens' property. After all, that government is nothing but a creation of the citizens. So, whatever that has been held by them is the property of the citizens. As the owners of the government, as citizens are the owners of the government information, the citizens are entitled to access with the information held by the public authorities, and that is the property of the state citizens. Actually, the public information or the government information is the property of the citizens. It is a very good angle with which we can look at the right to information. The information held by the public agencies was created or gathered by civil servants or officials who carry out their mandate by means of taxes paid to the public. By the very nature of the structure, the owners of information, those who finance the collection, should have access to it. So, they obviously they are the owners, so they should have the right to access. If you look at the right to know politics, actually the politicians or the public representatives are being elected to represent the public. So, as a citizen they have the right to hold the representatives into account. So, the legislative and executive action is done on people's behalf, the peoples are entitled to scrutinize all of it. When the public representative is sitting on behalf of the public, and when you make him to accountable, then automatically all his actions, all his information is can be scrutinized by the citizen as a proprietor or the owner of the particular information. If you look at RTI, after the introduction of RTI, it has exposed and several and prevented a lot of corruptions, and the ability to participate in the public affairs and to protect other human rights, to hold governments to account, improve service delivery, to facilitate their business and to further their own personal goals. So, after the advent of RTI, after the introduction of RTI, lot and lots of corruptions have been controlled, lots and lots of malpractices have been controlled. So, the governments have been accountable due to this particular RTI after the advent of RTI acts. So, in this presentation we have tried to provide you an idea of what is open and what is secrecy, how these two operate in democracy, and what is the need to have more open government, and what are the instruments we have to measure or to find out how open a government or institution is functioning in a democratic setup. Hope this lecture would have given you a basic idea about the open versus secrecy.